Welcome to Can Do Spanish by SpanishPod101.com.
Hola a todos, soy Víctor Trejo. Hi everyone, I'm Víctor Trejo. In this lesson, you'll learn how to ask for clarification.
Want to know if your Spanish skills are improving and what your real learning level is? Get your language skills assessed with our free level assessment test. Just click the link in the description and sign up for a free lifetime account to get assessed.
This is Sasha Lee, and she meets her neighbor, Adolfo Gonzalez, for the first time in the lobby of their building. Adolfo introduces himself by saying, "Nice to meet you. I'm Adolfo."
Mucho gusto. Soy Adolfo.
Sasha can't catch his name and asks for clarification. Listen to the conversation and focus on Sasha's request. Note, Sasha uses informal Spanish. Ready?
Mucho gusto. Soy Adolfo.
Disculpa, ¿puedes repetirlo?
Soy Adolfo.
Once more with the English translation.
Mucho gusto. Soy Adolfo.
Nice to meet you. I'm Adolfo.
Disculpa, ¿puedes repetirlo?
Excuse me, can you repeat it?
Soy Adolfo.
I'm Adolfo.
Let's take a closer look at the conversation.
Do you remember how Adolfo introduces himself? Nice to meet you. I'm Adolfo.
Mucho gusto. Soy Adolfo.
The conversation starts with
Mucho gusto.
meaning nice to meet you.
Mucho gusto.
First is
Mucho,
meaning much.
mucho, mucho. Gusto,
Meaning pleasure.
gusto, gusto.
Together,
Mucho gusto.
literally much pleasure, but translates as nice to meet you. When meeting someone for the first time,
Mucho gusto,
is a commonly used expression, but you may also hear the expressions
encantado.
charmed or
Gusto en conocerte.
literally pleasure in meeting you, but translates as nice to meet you. Next is
Soy Adolfo.
I'm Adolfo.
Soy Adolfo.
First is
Soy.
I am.
Soy. Soy. Soy.
Is the shortened form of,
Yo soy.
in Spanish, the
Yo
I is usually omitted.
soy
Is from the verb
ser.
to be.
Ser.
Next is the name
Adolfo.
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 Note, Adolfo only uses his given name. Sasha and Adolfo are young adults in an informal situation, so he only uses his given name. Together it's
Soy Adolfo.
I'm Adolfo.
Soy Adolfo.
Altogether it's
Mucho gusto. Soy Adolfo.
nice to meet you. I'm Adolfo.
Mucho gusto. Soy Adolfo.
Sasha can't catch his name. Do you remember how she asks, "Excuse me, can you repeat it?"
Disculpa, ¿puedes repetirlo?
First is,
Disculpa.
"Excuse me."
Disculpa. Disculpa.
Note,
Disculpa
is the informal form of excuse me.
Disculpa.
In this conversation, Adolfo and Sasha are of similar age, so the informal
Disculpa.
is more natural. Next is the word,
Puedes.
meaning you can, as in you are able.
Puedes. Puedes.
Note, the Spanish word for you
Tú
is understood from context,
puedes
is from the verb,
poder.
meaning can.
Poder.
Next is,
Repetirlo.
which translates as repeat it.
Repetirlo. Repetirlo.
Is made up of the verb
Repetir.
to repeat, and the pronoun
Lo.
which gets attached to it. First,
Repetir.
to repeat,
Repetir. Repetir.
next is
Lo.
it in this context.
Lo. Lo.
Together,
Repetirlo.
repeat it.
Repetirlo.
Altogether,
¿Puedes repetirlo?
can you repeat it?
¿Puedes repetirlo?
Altogether, it's
Disculpa, ¿puedes repetirlo?
excuse me, can you repeat it?
Disculpa, ¿puedes repetirlo?
Finally, do you remember how Adolfo says, I'm Adolfo? Hint, you've heard it before.
Soy Adolfo.
I'm Adolfo.
Soy Adolfo.
In this lesson, you learned how to ask for clarification in an informal situation, since Sasha and Adolfo are of similar age.
Disculpa, ¿puedes repetirlo?
Excuse me, can you repeat it? To ask for clarification in a formal situation,
Disculpe, ¿puede repetirlo?
excuse me, can you repeat it? Note the two changes in the formal form. First,
Disculpe,
replaces
disculpa. Disculpe,
excuse me, formal form.
disculpe. Disculpe.
Second,
Puede,
replaces
puedes. Puede,
you can, using formal Spanish.
puede. Puede, puede,
Is the third person singular of the verb
poder.
to be able. The third person singular is used for formal situations when addressing a single person.
Let's look at expressions once more. Listen and repeat. Disculpa. Disculpa. ¿Puedes repetirlo? ¿Puedes repetirlo? Disculpa. ¿Puedes repetirlo? Disculpa. ¿Puedes repetirlo? Disculpe. Disculpe. ¿Puede repetirlo? ¿Puede repetirlo? Disculpe. ¿Puede repetirlo? Disculpe. ¿Puede repetirlo? No entiendo. No entiendo. ¿Puedes escribirlo? ¿Puedes escribirlo? Did you notice the new phrases I used?
Wondering how you can master these conversations even faster? Here's how. 1. Read along. You get the lesson conversation and translations inside our dialogue tool, so that you see each word as you hear it and understand it all. 2. Practice speaking. By shadowing what you hear, you can also record and compare yourself with native speakers with our voice recording tools. And 3. Take our assessment tests and see how much you remember. These tools are part of our Can-Do course. Just click the link in the description to get them.
No entiendo.
I don't understand.
No entiendo.
Literally,
No entiendo.
means not I understand, but it translates as I don't understand.
No entiendo. Entiendo.
Is from the verb
Entender.
to understand.
Entender.
Note
Entiendo.
is a shortened form of
Yo entiendo.
the pronoun
Yo.
I is omitted as it's understood from context. Similarly,
No entiendo.
implies I don't understand. Next is,
¿Puedes escribirlo?
can you write it?
¿Puedes escribirlo?
First is,
Puedes.
you can, in formal form.
Puedes. Puedes
Next is,
escribirlo.
which translates as write it.
Escribirlo. Escribirlo. Escribirlo.
Is the verb
Escribir.
to write with the pronoun
Lo.
attached to it.
Escribirlo.
Together,
¿Puedes escribirlo?
translates as can you write it?
¿Puedes escribirlo?
Let's review the key vocabulary.
Disculpe.
Excuse me, formal form.
Disculpe. Disculpe. Escribir.
Write.
Escribir. Escribir. Escribirlo.
Write it.
Escribirlo. Escribirlo.
Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember the informal way to say excuse me? Disculpa. Disculpa. And how to say repeat? Repetir. Repetir. Do you remember how to say repeat it? Repetirlo. Repetirlo. Do you remember how Sasha Lee says, "Excuse me, can you repeat it?" Remember, she uses informal Spanish.
Disculpa, ¿puedes repetirlo?
Disculpa, ¿puedes repetirlo? Do you remember the formal way to say, "Excuse me"? Disculpe. Disculpe. And the formal way to say, "Can you repeat it"? ¿Puede repetirlo? ¿Puede repetirlo? Do you remember how to say, "Write it"? Escribirlo. escribirlo. And the informal way to say, can you write it down? ¿Puedes escribirlo? ¿Puedes escribirlo?
Let's practice. Imagine you're Ben Lee. Adolfo Gonzalez introduces himself, but you can't catch his name. Start with "excuse me" and ask him to repeat it using informal Spanish. Ready?
Mucho gusto. Soy Adolfo.
Disculpa, ¿puedes repetirlo?
Listen again and repeat.
Disculpa, ¿puedes repetirlo? Disculpa, ¿puedes repetirlo?
Let's try another. Imagine you're Adolfo Gonzalez. Karen Lee introduces herself, but you can't catch her name. Use formal Spanish. Ready?
Gusto en conocerte. Soy Karen Lee.
Disculpe, ¿puede repetirlo?
Listen again and repeat.
Disculpe, ¿puede repetirlo? Disculpe, ¿puede repetirlo?
Let's try one more. Imagine you're Adolfo. Start with "excuse me" and ask Sasha Lee to write it using informal Spanish. Ready?
Mucho gusto. Soy Sasha.
Disculpa, ¿puedes escribirlo?
Listen again and repeat.
Disculpa, ¿puedes escribirlo? Disculpa, ¿puedes escribirlo?
This is the end of this lesson.
Now, here's what you can do to cement this conversation in your head. Review the conversation with our dialogue tool and lesson transcripts. Study the key words and phrases with our spaced repetition flashcards. Review the key grammar and cultural tips inside the lesson notes. And test yourself with our assessment tests. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to access our Can-Do course.
Now you know how to ask for clarification. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.